we associate with animals above the waterline, most commonly cats and pigeons. But it is now known that several marine animals, such as elephant seals, salmon, and sea turtles, may travel considerable distances of ocean before they return as adults to reproduce in the same natal area they were spawned. Sea turtles outlived the dinosaurs, yet today, 5 of 7 species are on the endangered species list. They also take a long time to reach sexual maturity, a decade or more. So, observing them and drawing conclusions is a time-consuming and painstaking business. Sea turtles spend their whole lives at sea, except when adult females come ashore to lay eggs in the territory where they were born. The question is, how do they do it? It's thought that sea turtles find their birth beach by homing in on the chemical signature unique to where they were born, essentially tasting their way home. With these amazing abilities, that's what we call a real super sense. The case of the salmon's homing instinct is another baffler. Most salmon are born in fresh water. They migrate to the ocean, where they will spend 4 to 5 years eating and growing. At maturity, they return to breed and lay eggs in the freshwater streams they were born in. When they return to freshwater to breed, it was assumed that salmon use the scent of the water to find their home stream, and certainly the salmon's olfactory sense is astonishing. But now, scientists are starting to question if salmon also navigate using the Earth's magnetic field. Either way, those are some super senses the salmon deploys. Another way in which scent is critical for animals is when it comes to marking their territory. Leaving a scent stamp on their territory, most animals don't waste a lot of time being subtle. The lion urinates on a tree to mark the boundaries of his kingdom, and advise any other lions who come along that this tree is taken. The hippopotamus, however, scatters its feces to let intruders know who's in charge around here. This is called dung showering by those who study hippos, and something else by anyone who happens to be around. So far, the animals we've discussed who mark their territory do so in fairly standard ways, even if, like the hippo, they tend towards the alarming. But nature's endless adaptations never fail to amaze. Take the Thompson's gazelle, which is typically found on the African savanna. The male Thompson has a particularly odd way of marking its territory. When it's mating season, they establish breeding grounds by leaving their scent in an unusual manner, secreting a smelly substance from a gland below its eye. The Thompson's gazelle sticks the stuff on grass stems to ward off male interlopers and attract females. A long way from the African plains, in the woodlands of Queensland in South Australia, you'll find one of those animals that we humans like to think of as cute. The koala, of course, is not to be confused with bears of any kind, for of course this is a marsupial, whose closest relative is the wombat. This photogenic Aussie sleeps up to 20 hours a day and has one of the lowest brain-to-body ratios of any marsupial. If you come across one in the wild, urinating on a tree, you would see it marking its territory, particularly if it was a male, like this cheeky fellow. But the male koala senses territory in other ways too. You can distinguish the fully developed adult male koala by its quite visible chest cavity in the middle of its chest. It's actually a scent gland. And it's the scent gland on his chest that the adult male koala uses to mark his territory. Rubbing its chest against branches and twigs, usually at the bottom of a tree, produces an unusual reaction. This interesting activity triggers a particular sensation within the male koala, or buck. This sensation is accompanied by the secreting of a scented fluid that is exceptionally attractive to female koalas. When this is done, not only has the male koala marked his territory as a breeding ground, he's probably already in the mood for love. The bolus spider, also known as the angling spider, uses sex pheromones to ensnare its prey. It's known as aggressive mimicry, where a predator copies something from their prey in order to confuse or entice it. The bolus spider emits a pheromone indistinguishable from the female moth and lures male moths to their doom. It's a key weapon in the bolus spider's arsenal, as this is one spider that doesn't catch its victims in the usual web. Instead, they hunt using a sticky capture blob at the end of a line, which they swing at male moths. That includes strong limbs, claws to dig with, and a keen sense of touch. The wombat is the largest burrowing mammal, found in the temperate forest of southeastern Australia. They have stocky, powerful limbs, short necks, and broad, flattened skulls, perfect for pushing through the soil. Their forepaws are used for excavation. They can remove just about any obstacle with their incisors. To expand the sides and roof of a tunnel, wombats twist the upper body and perform barrel rolls. Their front end is backed up by an impenetrable posterior. Wombats have what is called a dermal shield on their rear, a plate of bone, muscle, and cartilage that can help defend their home from intruders. They can seal the entrance with their tough bums, or squeeze under the invader and slam them against the tunnel roof. To avoid the heat of the day, this marsupial stays cool in its burrow. The wombat comes out at night to feed on grass and the roots and bulbs of plants. They are able to pick up the most tender shoots because of a split upper lip. And to cope with their fibrous diet, they have open-rooted teeth that are continuously growing, a feature unique among marsupials. A sense of touch is highly advanced in those that have a habit of living like a hobbit, and the wombat is no exception. Their cheeks, jaws, and wrists are covered in vibrissae, whiskers that are specially designed for tactile sensing. Many animals that live the subterranean life have a need to be in close contact with their surroundings. It's a sense known as positive thigmotaxis. And although wombat senses haven't been studied too closely, it's likely they have this need to be in touch with tight places too. In the deserts of Central Australia, there are other creatures, many times smaller than the wombat, who also make their home underground. To shelter from the searing heat, rodents escape by burrowing deep into the cracks formed in the gibber, or stone-covered plains. Feeding mostly on seeds during the nighttime, they are perfectly adapted to the arid climate. They get all their fluids from their food. Gibber rodents live in small colonies, keeping in contact with burrow mates using a variety of calls, including squeals, whistles, chirps, and chatters. It's thought that their hearing is best at ultrasonic frequencies, perhaps an adaptation to avoid predators who may be listening above the ground. This rodent is not alone. Its subterranean shelter could be its undoing. Another creature is searching for sanctuary from the sun's heat and looking for a tasty meal. The inland taipan dwells in the cracks and crevices of the dry, rocky plains. And lucky for them, their favorite food lives in the same place. Cornering the rodent in its burrow, the taipan strikes with deadly poise. Injecting a lethal cocktail of paralyzing poisons. Its highly toxic venom is considered to be the most potent of any land snake in the world. The venom acts so quickly, the victim has little time to fight back. Food is scarce in the desert, and the snake must make use of every sense to find its prey. Smell tasting is the most important tool for sensing food. The forked tongue flicks rapidly, tasting the air for prey odors. This chemical information is then passed to the Jacobson's organ in the roof of the mouth, and then back to the brain for processing. Taipans can also detect their prey by sensing movement. They can hear by picking up vibrations along the ground. These travel through to the inner ear by means of a chain of bones in the lower jaw. Using its senses in this underground lair, the snake is a supremely adapted killer. Searching for prey certainly tests the sensory limits of animals. But when your food is minuscule and hidden, it really does need super senses to find them. The short-beaked echidna has a specialized diet. It only eats ants and termites found deep under mounds and logs. To get to the insect nibbles, the echidna uses its powerful, stout limbs to dig into the soil and rip open rotten wood. The front feet have 5 flattened claws, and the hind feet point backwards, helping the animal to push the soil away when burrowing. But it is the echidna's nose that is key to its success. Highly tactile, 8 centimeters long and rigid, this fair-sized proboscis helps this spiny anteater forage and poke around for food. The tongue can dart out to a length of 18 centimeters to catch its prey. And with the help of some very sticky saliva, with the consistency of molasses, ants and termites have little chance of escape. The snout is covered with tough, hairless skin containing glands and sensory receptors. Echidnas can detect prey by smell, but they also have an additional sense, found only in a handful of animals on the planet. With the tip of the snout, they are thought to have the ability to sense electricity. Until recently, the platypus and echidna were the only mammals known to use electroreception. Both are monotremes, egg-laying mammals, an ancient order of animals left over as a relic of evolution. The structures responsible for the electric sense in echidnas are sensory mucus glands. It's not fully understood how they use these, but tests have shown they can detect weak electric fields in water. As water is a good conductor of electricity, echidnas may be able to detect moving prey in moist soil. Even with a tough snout, echidnas generally avoid large biting ants for good reason. These nests are usually safe from anteaters. That's because there's a formidable fighter within. Australian bulldog ants are among the biggest and most primitive members of the ant world. They also pack a punch in their venomous sting. Easily recognizable by their huge jaws, bulldog ants use their sizable mandibles to carry food, construct nests, and defend their territory. They are active hunters and ferocious. If an intruder dares to venture near, the colony swarm out and attack within seconds, stinging them repeatedly with their venom. The ant chamber is underground and can extend several meters below the surface. It's here the queen lays her eggs, which hatch into fat, helpless larvae, lavishly tended to by workers. Most ants have poor eyesight, but a few have exceptional vision, and the bulldog ant is one of them. And they need their super sight to keep up with the insatiable appetites of their young siblings. Adults feed mainly on honeydew and nectar, but the larvae are carnivorous. The infants signal their hunger by raising their heads. Worker ants on dinner duty leave the nest and hunt alone, using their large eyes to find prey. Once they find a victim, they immobilize it with a deadly strike and carry it back to the nest. Workers bring dead beetles and bees into the chamber. The larvae attach and feed straight away. In their underground lair, it's important to be in constant contact with nestmates, both adults and young. The ants' antennae are special organs that help them detect chemicals and are also the touch sensor. They are used to identify friends from foe. Such an important sensory tool needs to be kept in top condition, and ants spend a great deal of time preening their antennae. An ant colony is a finely tuned machine with thousands of workers going about their jobs. And it's their super senses that keep this well-organized metropolis ticking along. Bulldog ants prove that being pocket-sized doesn't mean you're powerless. But there's a beast that ants would prefer not to run into: the antlion. It's not an ant, and definitely not a lion, and although it may not be as big as the king of the jungle, it's no less deadly. They are the larval form of a type of lacewing insect, and they are an ant's worst nightmare. Because antlions build death traps for their unsuspecting prey. They live buried in the sand, where the larvae dig funnel-shaped pitfalls with such efficient construction, it would put an architect to shame. The slope is steep enough to guide prey to their mouths, but shallow enough to avoid avalanches.